Right now, you're probably using ChatGPT on your phone. Same old glass screen, same tapping, same swiping. We've been doing this for, 15 years now? And if you're anything like me, there's this little question in the back of your mind. Is this really it? Is the future of AI just typing prompts into a box on a smartphone? Over the last few months, I've gone deep into what Sam Altman and Jony Ive have been quietly working on behind the scenes. And what I found is honestly kind of insane. They're not trying to make yet another app. Not another smart speaker. Not another AI gadget that ends up in your drawer. They're aiming at something much bigger. They want to make the smartphone itself feel outdated. Welcome back to Tube Trends AI, where we do the digging so you don't have to. If you want deeper breakdowns like this every week, there's a subscription link waiting for you in the description. In this video, we're going to unpack 3 big things. What this mysterious OpenAI device is actually supposed to do, why Apple's legendary designer walked away from a trillion-dollar company to help build it, and how a small, palm-sized object could completely change the way you use AI in everyday life. And here's the crazy part. This isn't some sci-fi idea for one day. They've already started building it with the same factories that make iPhones. And yes, there are real leaked details about what makes this thing so different. First up, we need to rewind a bit because the way this whole thing started is honestly wild. Picture this, it's 2015. Elon Musk is in a room with Sam Altman and a small group of tech heavyweights, promising up to $1 billion to help save humanity from AI. Yeah, the same Elon Musk who now constantly warns that AI could wipe us out actually helped create OpenAI to stop that from happening. But then comes the twist. Just a few years later, Musk walks away. Officially, the story is that there were conflicts with Tesla's own AI work. Unofficially, people close to the situation talk about power struggles, arguments over who was in charge, and big disagreements about where OpenAI should go next. Whatever the exact reason, that exit turned out to be a turning point. Because after Musk left, OpenAI went from some research lab you've never heard of to the company that broke the internet with ChatGPT. This was the product that hit 1 million users in just 5 days. For comparison, Instagram needed months, Twitter needed years, ChatGPT did it in under a week. By around 2025, while Musk was spinning up competing AI projects, let's be honest, at least partly out of frustration, OpenAI had already locked in a multi-billion-dollar partnership with Microsoft, shipped GPT-4, and quietly changed how millions of people write, code, learn, and create every day. From launch to global dominance in under a decade, most companies take that long just to stop losing money, but here's the key point. For Sam Altman, that still wasn't enough. Software alone wasn't the endgame. He wanted something bigger, a new kind of device to match the new kind of intelligence they'd built. Now imagine you're Sam Altman in early 2023. You've just launched the fastest-growing consumer product in history. ChatGPT is everywhere. You're on magazine covers. Every big tech company is reacting to you. Most CEOs at that point would just squeeze the software for as much money and attention as possible. But Altman does something completely different. He reaches out to one person, the guy who took Apple from computer company to world's first trillion-dollar design machine. Jony Ive, the mind behind the iPhone, the MacBook, the iPad, the Apple Watch, basically every Apple product people line up for. There's just one problem. Jony Ive had already left Apple back in 2019. He started his own design studio, Love From. He was done with the whole big tech grind. He was literally designing things like furniture and everyday objects instead of phones and laptops. The man who helped invent the modern smartphone era was off making coffee tables. So how do you convince someone like that to come back? It turns out Altman and Ive had been quietly meeting for almost 2 years. Not in some huge corporate HQ, but in Ive's own studio, sketching ideas, talking about the future of computing, asking a simple but powerful question. If AI can now see, think, and understand, why are we still poking at screens like it's 2007? It's a crazy mismatch when you think about it. We have AI that can write books, generate art, solve problems that used to take teams of experts, and we're still typing on little glass rectangles. It's like dropping a Formula One engine into a horse carriage. According to Ive, this challenge flipped a switch in him. He said he felt genuinely grateful to use everything he's learned over 30 years of product design on something that feels actually new, not just a shinier version of the same old device. And when Jony Ive calls something genuinely new, the world pays attention. This is the same person who convinced people they needed to spend over $1,000 on a phone and made it feel normal. On May 21, 2025, they finally made it official. But they didn't just say, hey, we're working together now. What happened next shocked basically all of Silicon Valley. A couple of months later, OpenAI didn't just partner with Jony Ive. They bought his entire company. This wasn't some small design contract. We're talking about a deal reportedly worth $5 to $6.5 billion in OpenAI equity. Let that sit for a second. OpenAI spent more on acquiring a design studio than some countries spend on their education systems. Overnight, they pulled in about 55 of the world's top hardware engineers, designers, and researchers. Not random hires. These were people personally handpicked by Jony Ive, many of them former Apple veterans who had helped build the devices that defined an entire generation. And then there was this tiny detail that most people glossed over. In their announcement, OpenAI described this new team as some of the best hardware and software engineers, technologists, physicists, and scientists. Physicists. Why do you need physicists to build a consumer device, unless you're not just designing a gadget but tackling the physics of how this thing lives in the real world? That's when the leaks started. Wired called it one of the most ambitious AI hardware projects ever attempted. Reporters at the Financial Times started hinting at early prototypes. Supply chain sources in Asia began talking. And what they described was absolutely nothing like what people were expecting. So what are they actually building? Forget everything you normally picture when someone says smart device. This isn't a phone, it's not AR glasses. It's not another Alexa hockey puck that just sits on your counter. Leaked reports all paint a similar picture. Think of something that fits in your palm, maybe like a smooth stone or a small, minimal block. And here's the part that breaks your brain a little: no screen. At all. In a world where we stare at screens for 7+ hours a day, Sam Altman and Jony Ive are trying to sell you a device that doesn't have one. On purpose. Instead, this thing is meant to be always on, always listening, and always watching your environment. And yeah, that sounds terrifying at first, but hold that thought, we'll talk about the privacy nightmare in a bit. Here's what makes it different from Siri or Alexa. Right now, you have to wake those assistants up. Hey Siri, Alexa, okay Google, this new device, it's designed to understand context. It should be able to tell when you're talking to it versus when you're just chatting with someone else nearby. Over time, it builds a memory of your life, your routines, your habits, your preferences, the people you mention a lot, the tasks you keep forgetting. Imagine walking into your kitchen and just saying out loud, "What can I cook with what's in my fridge?" The device uses its camera to see what's actually there. It knows your dietary preferences from past conversations. It remembers what you've already eaten this week. Then it just tells you, here's a recipe you'll probably like. No app, no typing, no scrolling, just talking. Or picture this. You're working and mumble, "I need to remember to email Jennifer about that proposal tomorrow." You don't stop what you're doing, you don't open a reminders app, you don't say a wake word, the device just quietly logs it. And tomorrow, it simply reminds you at the right time. No drama. One person close to the project described it as a friend who's a computer, not a computer pretending to be your friend. Altman has even said he doesn't want this to feel like some creepy AI girlfriend from a Black Mirror episode. The team is obsessing over the tone of its voice and personality so it feels helpful and human without being weird. And this is not some fragile prototype in a lab. They're reportedly working with Luxshare and Goertech, the same manufacturers behind iPhones and AirPods, to build it. That means they're planning for serious scale, not a tiny Kickstarter run. Altman has even bragged that they'll ship 100 million units of a brand new product faster than any company in history has ever done. That's either brilliant confidence or wild delusion. But when you look at who's involved, you start to see why they think they can actually pull it off. You want me to continue with the next part, how they're trying to build the impossible and the technical challenge? So how do you even build something this insane? The challenge isn't just technical, it's almost existential. They're trying to squeeze the feeling and power of GPT-4 into something roughly the size of a baseball. Right now, when you use ChatGPT on your phone, here's what actually happens. Your request goes from your device right arrow to giant server farms packed with GPUs, gets processed by models with billions of parameters. Then the answer comes back to you. Tons of compute, tons of energy, huge infrastructure. Now imagine making that experience feel smooth, instant, and always there through a tiny object you can carry or keep nearby. The physics alone are brutal. That's probably why they've hired physicists, not just software engineers. They're not only writing better code, they're likely working on new kinds of chips, new layouts, and new ways to split intelligence between the device and the cloud. Microsoft's Azure supercomputers are almost certainly in the mix, thanks to that huge OpenAI-Microsoft partnership. But here's the clever bit. By merging Ive's hardware team directly with OpenAI's AI researchers, they can co-design everything as one system. The microphones can be placed exactly where the AI models hear best. The cameras can be tuned specifically for the vision models they're using. The shape of the device itself can be sculpted around how the AI reads gestures, distance, and movement. It's the difference between buying a suit off the rack and getting one tailored to your body from scratch. Every inch is intentional. Prototypes are already being tested. Reports say the device is in active development right now, with some serious technical roadblocks popping up, which honestly is what you'd expect when you're trying to reinvent what a computer even is. The current target? Late 2026 for the first version normal people can actually buy. Let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this actually means for your day-to-day life. For the last 20 years, we've been living in the attention economy. Apps fighting to grab your eyes, notifications trying to drag you back into your phone. The average person checks their phone around 96 times a day. That's basically once every 10 minutes you're awake. Altman and Ive are betting that people are finally tired of that. They've said they want to pull us away from screens, not glue us to new ones. This isn't just about making AI easier to use. It's about changing your relationship with technology itself. Instead of pulling out your phone over and over, you just talk, ask a question, get an answer, move on. No infinite scroll, no doom scrolling. No dozen red badges screaming for attention, just an invisible layer of intelligence that's there when you need it and quiet when you don't. Here's a simple example that kind of says it all. You're cooking. Your hands are covered in flour. You need to convert cups to grams. Right now, you'd probably wash your hands, unlock your phone, open an app or browser, type the query, get distracted by a notification, and 5 minutes later remember your pan is burning. With this device, you just say, "Hey, how many grams is 1.5 cups of flour?" You get the answer, you keep cooking. No detour, no distraction, no extra screen time. Now multiply that by every tiny interaction you have with tech during the day. Quick questions, little reminders, small decisions, the time saved, the focus you keep, the extra mental space that adds up fast. Or take another example. Real-time translation. You're traveling, someone speaks to you in a language you don't know. Instead of awkwardly shoving your phone in their face, this little AI companion just translates in your ear or out loud. No app, no camera. Just natural conversation. And the impact on accessibility could be huge. Older people who find smartphones confusing, people with vision issues who struggle with screens, kids who really shouldn't be glued to TikTok all day for them. A simple, conversational AI that just lives in the room might be the most user-friendly computer ever made. And this is a big but, there's a dark side we can't ignore. Okay, let's talk about the part nobody really wants to think about. A device that's always listening, always watching, and always learning about you, that can be the ultimate personal assistant. Or the ultimate surveillance machine. There's not a lot of middle ground. Remember when people freaked out about Alexa maybe recording their conversations? Compared to this, Alexa looks like a toy. This new device could, in theory, know everything. When you wake up, what you talk about, who you spend time with, what your home looks like, your routines, your arguments, your habits. OpenAI says they care about privacy. But let's be honest, every big tech company says that on day one. The real question is, how much are you willing to trade for convenience? Because that's what this is, a trade. Here's the twist though. Your phone already tracks a scary amount about you, your location, your searches, your messages, your usage patterns. If this new device can move more of the processing onto the device itself instead of sending everything to distant servers, it might actually end up being more private than your current smartphone. And then there's Jony Ive. He spent decades at Apple, a company that literally turned privacy into a marketing slogan. He's not going to be excited about slapping his name on a product that feels like 1984 in a box. His reputation is worth more than any check. Still, the concerns are real. What happens if this thing gets hacked? What if a government demands access to the data? What does it mean for kids who grow up with an AI that has known them since birth? There are no easy answers here. But these are exactly the questions we're going to have to face if this kind of device becomes normal. And if history has taught us anything, now you might be thinking, hold on, haven't we seen this movie before? And you'd be right to be skeptical. We've had Google Glass dead. The humane AI pin, massive hype, huge flop, Meta's smart glasses, still pretty niche. Magic Leap billions raised, almost no real-world impact. The tech graveyard is full of devices that were the future for about 5 minutes. So why could this be different? There are 3 big reasons that actually matter. First, timing. Google Glass showed up when people didn't even think they had a problem. Smartphones were still new and exciting. Nobody was desperately trying to escape their screens yet. Now, screen fatigue is real. Parents are worried about their kids. Adults complain about shrinking attention spans. People are actively looking for something less addictive, not more. Second, the AI finally caught up. Old attempts were basically just fancier shells around weak voice assistants. Today's models, GPT-4 and what comes after, can actually understand context, keep track of a conversation, and give answers that feel genuinely useful. It's the difference between having a dictionary and having a tutor who knows you. Third, the people running the show. Jony Ive and Sam Altman both have a track record of making things that define entire categories. When Ive helped design the first iPhone, people said, no one's going to pay $500 for a phone. When Altman launched ChatGPT, people said, no one's going to pay for AI chat. They were wrong both times. And there's something else, something a little softer but maybe even more important. Do you want me to continue with the next part, the real reason this matters and the emotional/wonder angle? You know what's really interesting about how Altman and Ive talk about this project? They almost never lead with specs. They keep using words like wonder, delight, magic. These aren't engineering terms, they're emotions. Altman has said he wants to recreate the feeling he had using early Apple computers decades ago when technology felt full of possibility, not like another thing on your to-do list. Think about the last time tech gave you that feeling. For most people, it was the first time they tried ChatGPT and thought, whoa, I'm actually talking to an AI and it understands me. Now imagine that feeling, not trapped behind a screen but woven into your daily life. Not as an app, not as a website, just there when you talk, gone when you don't. This is where the real shift happens. This isn't just about a better gadget, it's about changing the default idea of what a computer is. For 50 years, we've been stuck in the same pattern: desktops, laptops, phones, tablets. Different shapes, same metaphor: files, folders, windows, apps. But what if computing felt less like using a tool and more like having a conversation with a smart friend who knows you, remembers things for you, and helps you think? What if, instead of you adapting to technology, learning shortcuts, tapping icons, organizing files, the technology finally adapted to you? That's the real revolution here, not just the hardware, not even just the AI model. It's the idea that we might finally move past the screen era into something more natural and more human. So here's where things stand. Sam Altman and Jony Ive have quietly assembled what might be one of the most stacked teams in tech history. They've raised billions, and they're betting that this little AI-powered object could be either the next iPhone or the next Google Glass. The current target on the board? Late 2026. That's when we'll find out whether this thing actually lands or crashes. Maybe we end up with millions of people carrying tiny AI pebbles in their pockets, casually talking to a computer that understands their life. Or maybe this becomes another classic Silicon Valley story: huge ambition, cool demos, and a quiet fade into the background. Here's my take, and you can tell me if you agree. Even if this specific device fails, it still marks a turning point. It's the first serious attempt to imagine computing beyond the smartphone. Once you let that question into your head, are glass rectangles really the best we can do? It's hard to unthink it. The future of tech might not be something we look at all day. It might be something we talk to, something that understands not just our words but our context, our habits, our intentions. Whether that future is owned by OpenAI's device or something else entirely, it's coming. The only real question is, are you ready for it? So I want to hear from you. Would you trust an always-on AI device in your home? What would you want it to do that your phone just can't? And honestly, do you think Altman and Ive can pull this off, or is this just another beautiful tech fantasy? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to follow this story as it unfolds over the next year or two, you already know what to do. Stick around, because this is just the beginning and things are about to get very, very interesting. Until next time, keep questioning what's possible.